Hello, and welcome to this video with Shakmat as the 2025 Machina Bristronica rolls round. Go buy your tickets, links down below. We're sharing videos from last year's event with the DivKid Discussion stage. Let's get straight into it. Hello everyone.
Hello Ben. Hello. Hello everyone.
Francois from Shakmat. I realised when this talk was booked in, I don't know much of your background. I know you perform with modular as well as, of course, run Shakmat, make modules, design the modules. Where are you kind of coming from creatively or musically?
I'm first, we at Shakmat, because we have a bunch of people, we like 7, we mostly a bunch of musicians, and the way we think our modules in terms of musical needs and in terms of technical aspects. So I'm also an engineer, we got a programmer, an analog designer, which is just there in the room, and a bunch of other people helping. But the main motivation of doing module for us is to reply to some needs, some question we have with playing with modular, playing live with modular.
So how did you find modular? I presume you were playing on other devices or instruments prior to first getting into modular. What led you into the format?
I think two things. First, I always been interested into technology, and as I'm an electric engineer, it makes kind of a lot of sense to be attracted to modular once you're in electronic music, because the way you're working with it is something very technical and logical, which really makes sense when you studied electrical engineering. And then we have also, in Belgium, in the 90s, we had this guy who was making very weird modular stuff, and I met him, I bought a synth from him, and I totally fell in love with the way it was working. But the synth from the 90s were very hard to perform with.
Yes.
And I wanted at a certain point to reply to this and to have my own approach on how can we play live with this kind of instrument. So in terms of flexibility of a patch, or in terms of making a real piece of music that can last more than 5 minutes, how can we do that? And that was one of the first approach to do the first module of Shakmat.
Can we hear a bit? Maybe play a little bit and then we'll talk about what's happening.
Yeah. I will do a small track for everyone. A bit of music is always cool, because just speaking is, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's really interesting, and I don't think I've noticed this before, there's a clear distinction between top and bottom modules in terms of jacks on top, jacks at the bottom. And it's led to a really nice kind of central point of patching, but all of this is free and clear at the bottom.
Yeah, it's basically here I'm running the live with, let's say we have different families of modules in Shakmat. We have all those, I don't know if, oh yeah, people can see it, awesome. They are more like the performative modules, like sequencing modules. So we have a clock generator, we have here a trigger sequencer, another trigger sequencer which is based on more algorithms. Here we have a preset controller. We will maybe speak about it later because it's an important key point for what this kind of system should be in Shakmat in the future. We got two sequencer, which is more like CV gate recorder. It's a new version of our very first module, which is called the Bishop Miscellany. So it's a CV gate recorder, but it allows also to remangle the used sequences live and to make them evolve. It came from the fact that usually when you play with modular synth, you're playing with the sound itself and not the sequence.
Yes.
And we wanted to have a tool that allows also to play on the sequence itself very easily. Last one from this family of control module is Griffin's Close, which is a quad fader recorder. That's how I did like the intro pad, and at a certain point I don't have to play it anymore. I can just record my movement. I got just this beatbox micro, which is not a Shakmat module. Obviously, I did this exercise to sample only Shakmat modules to put in the beatbox micro to remake snares, pads, and this kind of stuff. So everyone will listen to is coming from Shakmat, just the reverb and the mixer, of course, are not Shakmat. And then we get the second family of module, and we want to create not a techno system, but more like a club music system, because techno, as you can hear, it's not my first inspiration. Mm-hmm. So it's more like different instruments. One is dedicated to the kick, one other one is dedicated to hi-hats, but can achieve a lot of different sounds. We also have the Ballista Blast, which is an upcoming module, which are totally synth voice, hybrid, digital and analog. And then we got some additional modules, like the Gemini Spas. We had a bit of compression on the synths. Mod Medusa, which is like a synced modulation source, which is giving this balance between bass and kick, in the battering ram, maybe. This is without the LFO. Maybe with a drive wheel. You get it, and without the modulation. And then we got modules coming from our analog subsystem, which has a couple of Banshee Reach that I'm using more as a noise source and a dubby, this kind of very simple patch. And the Central's Gate, which is a dual filter, VCA, just to make risers and those kind of dubby effect. And then we got the dual dagger, which is processing stereo signals coming from the beatbox micro.
In terms of playing and performing with rhythm, are these, you say one of them is algorithmic based, algorithmic rhythm generation. Are you playing in the other one on the first module here? Are these preset in terms of you played these patterns in? Are these just working as mute buttons?
Okay, so this one's the algorithmic one. I'm just using it to make this hi-hat, which is actually not playing in the track I was making. So maybe let's go and check this one. It's a dual trigger generator, and we have two outputs which can be linked with mathematical relations. And as you can hear, yeah, there's some delay also. It's a good tool to drive hi-hats or like bongos or this kind of duo of percussions. So it's based on different tables such as Euclidean patterns, but other patterns also we created. And the key point of this module, which makes really sense, is to associate two different sequences at the same time with like logical or mathematical relations. And we found out like very, very simple maths. We can associate like, for example, Euclidean patterns together, and it feels really well. It's coming from maths, so adding more maths on it was maybe working, and actually it works pretty well. And the other one I'm using for triggers is this one, which is you can just improvise the way you want. So let's remove it. Let's remove this. So you can simply can simply record, so I maybe need a tempo reference for this, but you can also recall patterns that you recorded before. And you can hear there's some slight variation into what it's doing sometimes, because there's also randomizers that allows to associate tables together, like pre-recorded tables together, and sometimes you're going to shift at the end of the sequence to give a bit of live.
That's what I was interested in. As you were playing, it was evident that, well, being rooted in a pattern that was obviously repeating in the style that you were playing in, there was evolution in the patterns that you weren't always interacting with. So it's like kind of end-of-the-chain randomization is how it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's end-of-the-chain randomization. I think the key point for making this kind of music is to have stable things and be able to add on top of random thing else. And I can make different small pieces of music today, and you will see that I'm always using some kind of stuff that allows to have like fixed pattern and then to have randomized pattern to bring live and variation naturally. So that's why also what I'm doing with this Bishop miscellany, which is providing a random sequence to FM patch in the ballista. So you can have a very simple beat and end of sequence and makes those variations that way. And I think it's important to have like stable elements and variating elements.
Well, it can't just be one or the other. Everything stable gets boring very fast. Everything random, we find it hard to associate with. There's no pattern for us to recognize.
Yeah.
You just get lost very quickly.
Yeah, I think the key point is finding the right balance, the in-between thing between the two for, this kind of music. I cannot speak for everyone, for every style of music, of course, but for the way I'm producing music, it's something I really hear a lot in different type of beat music or ambient music. There is this balance between predictivity and non-predictable elements.
What's your approach? The drum sounded great. I know the kick drum is a Colin Bender's favourite as well, having played a set of it recently. What's your approach to making voices? Because what's been interesting, having played with the battering ram, is how good of a bass voice it is, kind of non-kick voice if you want it to be.
Yeah.
What's your approach to making a module that is, say, a kick drum or a hi-hat, but they're still giving the right amount of range while also getting the controls to be dialed in enough to very quickly get a kick drum or a hi-hat, for example? How do you approach that level of design?
It's both have different stories between the battering ram and the Archer's rig. The battering ram, it's a collaboration with a guy called Magnus Stromo. So it's a wizard at virtual analog. He's a guy working for Ableton Live. Mark, if you're watching us, I will say hello from the team. He's not there, unfortunately, with us. So he's working for Ableton Live. He's the guy who designed the drift in Ableton Live, so pretty high-end virtual analog programmer. And he basically came one day with a kind of prototype module where a friend of him allowed him to run a VCV patch into this module and say, look, listen to this. We have the very good luck that is living like 500 meters from our HQ. So he just gave us the kick. I was training in the studio, say, yeah, it sounds okay. Then I tried the kick and say, yes, there's something kind of top of it. And what's really expressing to what he did, and no, I'm not talking about myself and what I did, but about what something else just brought us. So I think I'm pretty objective with this. Is you succeed to do something that you can really easily mangle, and there's so much sweet spot, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now, actually. I'm just turning them randomly, and you can hear you always, I don't know, fell on something that is really working, and that's a very good work he did with this module. It's kind of all sweet spot everywhere, which is a good approach for live performance, I think.
It's a bad question. It's ultimately just a compliment, having played with it, that it's not so dialed in that you can't fine-tune it if you want, or push it in and out of the ranges a little bit. But as you just clearly demonstrated, it just kind of always sounds good, and I think that's very hard to do. It can be too dialed in, and it's like, oh, that's a kick drum that sounds like this type of kick drum, and it doesn't have much range. Or it's totally wide-ranging that you're never going to get it back, or it's hard to dial things in specifically.
Yeah. What we added, we suggest to add also for that is we added what we call a store and recall function, which is very live-friendly, I think, mainly for the kick. So let's take a more straightforward kick pattern. So I like this kick. This is my peak time kick, and we can store simply, you got a memory with select bus, but we got also this thing. And then you make this break, and there we go. You can simply recall what you did just before. And I think this kind of features that help very much to perform live and to be able to, it facilitates the way you're using. Mainly for a kick drum when you don't want to change everything at a time and you want to be sure to come back to the main core of your track. And the kick is important in club music, yeah.
And that's hard to do. You can always move dials and turn them back, but you can't turn several back at the same time. That just recall instantly when you want it, I think is really impressive as a live tool. You mentioned having a preset system, kind of preset manager.
Yes. So it's not very set up here. It's actually the tracks I prepared for a workshop. It's Change Sladen, where I played all the tracks in a row. And I didn't set up the presets over here because the good solution would be to split the system in two if you really want to do like the DJ style. But the Harlequin's context, it's what we call a preset programmer. So basically you have different scenes when you can have different modulation signals, different offset, and so you can prepare offset in the old school way of analog. But we found out, and we were suggested by a very good friend, is it here in the room? He's not here, but you know who it is when you will see the video, that he suggested, like, you know, preset programmer in 2018, I think, should handle the select bus protocol. And so for people who don't know what is the select bus protocol, it's like MIDI messages you're sending through the ribbon cables. So you can have this module, you can change the scene, and have different modules in your rack, changing according to the scene you're just sending here. You can save it, having a unique store button in a rack to store the interior state of your system if everything is plugged on the same bus.
So it's more than just, say, 4 preset voltages that change several kind of functions of the modules.
Once you start to work with other modules that handle the select bus protocol, and we're not the only ones doing it. Like a simple example that not many people knows about it, it's like the distinct is handling the select bus protocol. Yes. And with this you can have like, I love, for example, to use a distinct with different effects like a short delay, resonator, or reverb, and you just change your sequence. You are looking at context, and you just change on the fly the preset very quickly, which can be really part of the sound design of the track you're making.
It's interesting. You speak about, before we came on, and you said it on stage as well, tracks. The idea that these are tracks and pieces with different themes and different ideas. Is that what the system's ultimately building towards? Performing, as you say, not for just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, evolving the same patch. You're playing, you mentioned DJ set as well, like clear changes in themes. Can we hear something else that is then one of those, like the next track, for example?
Yeah, let's go for a more punchy track. So normally I'm changing little by little while evolving my life, so I just have to set up in a very quick way.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Thank you.
As well as the kick obviously sounding monstrous on this system, the detail in the hi-hats and the top-end percussion is really good as well. What's your approach to performing and programming that? Is that based on this maths in the algorithm on your sequencing, or...?
I'm doing it with the Archer's rig, like all the snares more coming from the sampler. So here we have in this track a typical like 909 style a bit, which is also like modulated by the Mod Medusa. So we have a very slow cycle. To give a bit of life. So if I remove it, very stable. And then we get this more like half bar feeling on it. And the other one is I'm using as a unpredictable source we were speaking about just before. I've got the Archer's rig. So the Archer's rig is like an hybrid between also digital and analog. So it gets different source of noise processed by a digital effect. And then we got a chain of filters, VCA, and distortion after that, which are analog. And for example, what I'm using here is a randomizer, because any parameter can be randomized with its own amount. And it's a way I'm creating this unpredictability. So now I'm randomizing completely the source, which type of is it a 909, a DR110, 808? You can see all the different sources scrolling there. It's a module that can be used in many ways, like in a very, like we said, stability, instability. And in the first track also, which is quite cool to use, it also, we can use it also as a drone source. And I don't know if you remember, for those who were there in the first track, this one. You can also, it's an 808 source processed with FM. And so you can use it as a pad generator also. There's many ways to use it. So with this set of two models, I'm sure I always have a fixed hi-hat and something else to occupy the top end of my rhythm section. So yeah, basically this is it. And the way we made it, it's to reply to all those different matters, like stability and predictability, and also being able to have something flexible in us to also create some other materials in other situations.
You mentioned the new synthesizer voice as well. Can we hear that on its own?
Yeah, sure. So the synthesizer voice is a mix of analog and digital. So it's got a digital VCO and digital modulation, and then we got different analog filters, distortion, and VCA plus LPG. So let's take this pattern, for example, is a FM pattern. Let's remove the effect. So with a very, very simple pattern. You have all the control you would expect from here. As in Shakmat module, we got a pitch, but you can lock the parameter, and it becomes an octave switch. So it's something I think which is very important while performing, to not detune stuff.
I really like a lock function on an oscillator tune. The amount of friends that play with their modular live and pull off the knobs. Because they don't want to knock it.
It was, when chip shortage, we say, okay, big CPU, we were planning doing big digital module, big CPU wasn't the thing at this time. So we integrated Guillaume, which is over there in the team with an analog designer, and we said, okay, let's go and try to do an analog system, but what to do with an analog VCO. So I'm just going to speak to Tsegon about the Banshee, but you will get why. So the Banshee is an analog VCO with vari-shape, a sub-octave generator, phase modulation, true zero phase modulation. So everything you can expect from a modern analog VCO. But what if we want to have it like more Shakmat? What if we want to have something which is very performable? And we ended up thinking that one of the worst things that can happen with an analog VCO is by playing live just detuning your VCO, right? It's like a nightmare for a lot of performers. So we decided to add like a lock button. Lock button means you're locking, and these potentiometers became an octave switch, which is also something that a lot of people are using and which are pretty convenient to just change the tessitura of your sound in your track. So back to the Ballista. We have different engine. So we have the FM engine running right now, but let's go for the classic engine. So it's not maybe the best riff. So let's create and let's put a scale also on it. So we have a classic engine with different mode of the VCO, so a sub VCO, a dual, a uni. So basically everything you can think about. You get also different filters. Like I said, also distortion. But you get also wavetable option. With the address of the wavetable, you can still run the filters. And then we get a FM, different FM algorithm. I don't know if you see them at the screen. There are 4 operators FM, and you can have different presets of algorithm where you get rid of the filters, and now you have different macro on the FM patch. So what we wanted to do here is to say, okay, we don't want to have to take a choice between should the music sound more analog, subtractive scene, FM or something. No, we want to do a kind of universal tool for this kind of system which have all the interesting features we talked about before. So select bus again, presets, having also the ability to randomize any parameter. Same thing as the hi-hat. You can go to Crazy Patch and create those unstable patches.
Can you play some more? Have you another track?
I can. Yeah, I can. Let's go.
Excellent.
Thanks.
It's really clear they're designed from a musical background. You know, the module range is meant to perform, to aid making music with your other modules or other people's modules as well. It's really impressive.
Thank you. Coming from you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
As we move towards kind of finishing the talk, is there anything else you'd like to focus on?
Maybe you can talk background of the team or the team itself. So I'm always a public figure of Shakmat, so it's cool sometimes to be able to name the people working because I'm designing, inventing the modules, but you have a full team to work on it. And
you mentioned 7 people. I didn't know there were. I know it wasn't just you, but I didn't know there was 7.
Yeah, no. So we have, let's say, in the R&D team, there is me, there is Steve, who is unfortunately not here. He's sick in Brussels, unfortunately. A bit sad to not be part of the team to come at Bristol. He's a designer, a graphic designer, and he started Shakmat with me from day one, helping for a lot of different stuff. Then joined Guillaume and Leonard in the R&D team. So Guillaume is an analog PCB designer. He's responsible for some nice designs, such as the Dual Dagger, Santos Gates, Banshee Reach, and other contribution like in the Ballista Blast also. So we have Leonard, who is a programmer. He programs the Barge Quartet, for those who knows. The Mon Medusa, the Archer's Rig is also from him. His programming is now working hard on the Bishop Miscellany MK2, so participating in a lot of projects. We have Nico, who just stand up there with his sunglasses. Hello, Nico. With in the production team. So this is 5 of us. We have Hugo with logistic guy. So he's basically the guy in relations with some customers, but also all the retailers and selling and everything, and also doing some administrative job. He's not with us, unfortunately, at Bristol. We have Brice with the com guy. So if you contact us through Instagram, you will hit Brice first. And there is Ace in the shadow guy with very often that I think many knows of. Some of you knows, which is called Constantine, who's been almost from day one, since the first module, a very passionate guy who contacted me like, oh, I like this module, could we add this feature and this feature? And he ended up 2 years after being with us at Super Bowls, presenting and always giving feedback and ideas for the module. So he's more in the shadow and never exposed publicly, but he's a very great contributor to the Shakmat module lines.
It's amazing that these things can grow a team, and then the good things that happen from having a team.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what's amazing, what we succeed to do, and I'm really happy on a personal side, it's we managed to have a team of friends everyone is very motivated also at what everyone is doing, and all the team evolves technically. I'm very lucky to share those moments with those persons and to be able to develop a business such as Shakmat with people like that.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd encourage everybody to come and play with the system, either today or tomorrow. And thank you very much.
Thank
really
you.
Enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.